this call, if that's cool.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Is it your something?
20 steps or
Yeah.
so, and he was like,
Good morning,
I'm
everybody.
beat.
I have
So-
these people here, so I need to.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're just give us a few minutes while we just wait for a few more people to join. And thank you all for joining us today. If you could just mute on your end, please, everybody. All right, thank you. So yes, we'll just wait a few more minutes for more people to join. We had quite a turnout in registrations, which is exciting. Obviously, this is a topic that's hot on everybody's mind, and I'm sure we're all getting asked about it. So if we're ready, it's 10:35. So I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. So we'll do a roll call of our board members. So myself, I'm Guillermo Hobelman, the LA Basin chapter president, and the building official for the city of Hermosa Beach. And I'll go ahead and pass it on to Mike, our vice president.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michael Perez, vice president this year, and I'm from Building and Safety, City of Los Angeles. I'll pass it on to Jovi, our treasurer.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jovi. I'm from LA County. I'm a building sign checker at LA County Public Works here at Building and Safety Division. Nice to meet you all.
And then, of course, we have Perla, our secretary.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Perla Herrera. I'm with City of Glendale Building and Safety, plan check engineer with our team here as well. And thank you all for joining us.
All right, thank you. And our past president, which is a member of the board, Louis Vasquez, unfortunately was not able to attend today. So we'll just note that on our minutes. And of course, excuse me. So we definitely want to go ahead and mention and introduce our past presidents and honorary members. So some of the registrants that we have, Ara, of course, from the city of Glendale, one of our honorary members and also past president. I see we have Ron Tagaguchi, again, also an outstanding member and a past president. I do see some other people that registered, Celine, past president as well.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. And let's see, we have Mazen Dudar, Victor Cuevas. And if there's anyone I'm missing, yeah, we had quite a lot of people register, so I want to make sure I don't miss any of our past presidents.
Guillermo, this is Ron. We have, of course, Craig Johnson.
Okay, yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Yes, we do have Craig Johnson as well. And we did have Jonathan Lamb that also registered, if he's in the room yet. All right. So moving on with our agenda, we do have our previous chapter meeting minutes from our joint chapter meeting for Building Safety Month. Those are dropped in the chat. So if we could go ahead and get the approval of previous minutes, if there's anyone to move to approve those.
So moved.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you. Thank you, Ara. So we have a first and a second to approve the previous minutes. So with that, we'll go ahead and continue with our communications. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to Mike, our vice president.
Sure. Thank you, Guillermo. Hopefully everyone can hear me well, but just very quickly, we're going to recap on last month we had our building and safety training matrix, and we had over 200 attendees, 9 courses, 9 instructors or slash presenters. So it was a very successful event. Some of our sponsors showed up, and as well, some of them even presented. So I want to thank all the jurisdictions and all the people who sent attendees over. We look forward to another strong turnout, hopefully next year. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. And yes, that was a great event, and it's definitely something we'll be hosting again next year. So definitely keep an eye out. I'm sure Mike will have some great things planned for next year. So moving on with that, our treasurer, Jovi.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say that we have currently 14,860 and 14 cents at the bank account. We're working on that. We're waiting actually for some of the invoices that outstanding invoices that has not been filled up yet. So we made a good profit from the Matrix event. So if you have any open invoices, please let us know when you're going to be able to follow through. And at the same time, if you have not renewed your membership yet, please let us know. And if you have any questions at all, please give me a call or send me an email, and we'll take care of it in this end. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jovi. And yes, yeah, but everything that everybody contributes, which is our membership dues or sponsors, that all goes for everything that we can offer for all of you, our membership. So it all helps. So thank you, everybody. And next, Perla.
Hi, everyone. So thank you all for joining us on this meeting today. I know AI is a really hot topic right now for a lot of our jurisdictions, and we will be providing CEU credits for the training today. So I will be sending those out after the meeting, and I will also send the recording for the training today to everyone that's registered and that has attended. And then also we wanted to share a couple of exciting events that we have coming up in August and September. So August, we will have an in-person training on August 13th, presented by Energy Code ACE with Nick Brown. So that'll be a heat pump water heater training for plan review and for inspection. So be on the lookout for that invite. I'll be sending that out soon, or all chapter will send it out soon for registration. And then in September, we are hosting CASP training with John Caparelli. That'll be September 9th. And September 22nd. And the invite for that has been sent out. We also have the link in the chat, I believe. So, or if anybody needs the registration links or for any of these events, feel free to reach out. We can send that over.
Thank you, Perla. And yes, if there's any events that we mentioned, or if you want to know what's going on, what training we're offering for you, our membership, please go to our website. We have all the flyers and sign-up forms on there. And I see we have, if we have a question, Ara, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, quick for clarification, is that in person August 13 one? So,
yes, it is. It is in person, and yeah, it'll be an exciting one. Yes, it's in person, and it's going to be a little unique because they're actually going to have a heat pump there. So it'll be kind of hands-on to show everybody, you know, how that works, how to inspect it, all of that. So yes, it'll be in person next month.
LA County
Yes.
building. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. And then just to also something that a couple of things the chapter's working on. So we are working with SoCal FPO to keep our joint chapter meeting going. So as soon as we have confirmation with that, which is always a facility site visit and a tour, as soon as we get confirmation with that, we'll definitely push that out. And the board is also working on our past president luncheon. So that event, as soon as we we have that coming up, we'll definitely reach out to our past presidents, since we always appreciate all their input and the historical context they can bring and help us in our leadership. And with that, we do have our committee reports. If we have our admin committee, if we have any update, I know their meeting unfortunately got canceled yesterday, but if we have any updates from the admin committee.
If Farouk's not here, probably I can give one, Guillermo.
Yes, please.
Sure. So the admin committee met, the last meeting was May 13th, as Guillermo was saying. Yesterday's meeting, June 10th, was canceled, but the July 8th meeting, sorry, the August 12th meeting is still on. So be on the lookout for that. Just a quick one for anyone who hasn't or is still on the fence on whether they should attend the admin committee. I find, maybe I'm not working on the administrative side of City of LA, but I always like to hear inputs from not only LA, but you have county, you have sometimes Long Beach, even as far as San Diego, giving their inputs on what their jurisdictions are doing. The last month's meeting, LA talked about plan check extensions, and I know every jurisdiction does it their own way, as well as there was a very energetic discussion about fire sprinklers, accessory buildings such as rec rooms and ADUs. Obviously, there was no consensus because everyone does it slightly different, but it's good to be there and see how other jurisdictions are dealing with these accessory occupancies, and in this case, fire sprinklers. So I'd encourage everyone to attend the admin committee if you can. And then I know I'll be there, and I'll see you guys there next month for those of you who attend. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mike. And yes, continuity across our jurisdictions is always something we all focus on or should be focusing on. So yeah, it's always good to have that continuity and that conversation in this meeting and other meetings. And definitely, if you're thinking about maybe being offering your additional support and leading a committee or being a co-chair, please do reach out to us. We're always looking for people that are willing to put in that extra help. So definitely let us know. And next, our Fire Life Safety Committee. If we have anybody. And if we don't have anyone from our Fire Life Safety Committee, our Inspection Committee, if we have Jim on the line.
Guillermo, I'll speak with the fire. The co-chairs at the fire, they're working in Altadena, so I know they're kind of busy. So we'll schedule the next meeting coming up soon, so I'll keep in touch with them. I do know that they are encouraging everybody to participate or get some ideas of how they run their fire department or provide some ideas of what needs to be included. One of them works for, he does the fire sprinklers at LA County. And I know both of them work for the Altadena office, so a newer construction project. So if you have the chance, please reach out. I know if you have any topics you would like to discuss, they will be working with you. The two chairs are Raphael and Joseph Human, and so they would be happy to reach out. And if you have questions, just let me know. Again, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jovi. And I don't believe Jim Brewster from City of Santa Monica is on. So he is our chair for Inspection Committee. That's always a good one to join for inspectors. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And if you're not an inspector, everybody's welcome. Just kind of going over field conditions, field inspections, common problems that we all see out there in the field. So moving on from that, we do have our organizational updates. So if we have anyone from Calbo that would like to provide an update. All right. And next we'll have the California Energy Commission.
Yes, good morning. Let me share my screen real fast. Oh, wait, I can't share it. Is it possible that you guys can give me access to share my screen?
Yes, give us 1 minute.
All right, no worries. Or if you want, I mean, if you can open the updates I sent it to you guys. Maybe I'll go over those real fast, if that's easier.
And yeah, if you wouldn't mind, apologies while we get that situated. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and provide your updates, and I'm sure as soon as our secretary gets that going, we'll allow you to share your screen or go ahead and present
No,
on your behalf.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't have much this month as well, so real quick, so I'll go over our business meeting, so which is happening on July 8th, so which happened yesterday. So over there, we have one equivalent alternative for relocatable public school buildings in 2025 energy codes. So so they proposed that a resolution for approving an alternative procedure for demonstrating compliance with the 2025 energy code to the non-residential appendix compliance procedures. So I think that was approved yesterday in the business meeting. And the next one, the compliance software is still same as last time. We didn't release any new version for all those softwares for 2025. And then 2025 energy code, we have a web page. So please, visit that web page often, because we whenever we release something, so it's on the web page right away. And then the workshop that happened on June 23rd, 24th, and 25th, and the comment period it is due until tomorrow. So if you have any comments, you can submit your comments by the docket. And then next is 2028 energy code. Again, we have a web page for that. If you have any, if you want to learn something about 2028 energy code, so please visit that web page, and the research version for CBEC 2028, it is available on that as well. And then for our outreach schedule, so we are, giving a presentation for Calbo on July 15th on
Carlos,
electric
this is
rating.
Alberto. I was in a meeting and somehow my stupid phone just taped some gibberish things from the meeting on your text. Anyway, disregard that. But I talked to Nick about bringing you back if you can do something that can help you make a decision. Anyway, if you have any question, call me. Thank you. And I apologize for my phone taping a meeting that was not to be sent to you. Thank
So regarding the schedule, so we have, we are presenting for Calbo on 2025 energy code electric ready requirements. So please sign up for that if you have any, if you want to learn more about electric ready. And then energy code ACE training. So again, they are, doing a lot of trainings online. And if you want to, if you want them to come and give training to you guys in person, please reach out to them as well. So this is a long list of their, and then after that, I guess we have 3C-RAN, BayRAN. So I put those trainings in there as well. And one more thing, which Spring News Blueprint newsletter. So that was released yesterday, if I'm not wrong. So please visit our Blueprint newsletter webpage. Because that will answer a lot of your questions in there. What else in there? Can you scroll down? I think after that, it's just our hotline, all that stuff, regular stuff. So please reach out to us if you have any question, and call us, leave the voicemail, and we'll get back to you. So I think that was it from my side.
All right. Thank you for that update. And next, Dave from Energy Code ACE.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, great. So thanks so much for the opportunity to speak, and thank you to the CEC for giving us a plug there. I saw the list of classes. I want to highlight just a couple that I think would be most relevant to building departments that are coming up, and I'll put some of the a list of them in the chat too, so people can have it for reference. On July 20th, we'll have an a class on acceptance testing. That's always a squirrely issue with a lot of questions that come up. So it's a good opportunity to get more familiar with those requirements. We will have a focused non-res and multifamily standards class coming up for plans examiners on August 10th to 11th. We also, on August 18th, have the What's New for the residential standards. It's an overview of what went into effect in January that's different from the previous code standards. And then the following day on the 19th, we have a similar session, but for non-residential standards. And then on the heels of that, August 24th and 25th, we've got the solar and battery storage class, single family followed by non-residential and multifamily. And then August 26th, non-res and multifamily standards for outdoor lighting. And on September 1st, single family envelope standards. All of those are really good topics that I think would be valuable for building departments to check out. We don't have any new fact sheets released since our last update to you a month ago, but we've got a couple in the hopper that I should be able to report out on when we see you in person next month. And then just a highlight of some of the key tools and resources we want to make sure that you avail yourself of. The help desk, always available. If you click on the little question mark icon on the website in the lower right, you'll be able to get direct support from an energy code expert. We also have Q&As, which has a archive of the questions that are asked on various topics and will come up if you search for topics within that, and I'll provide a link to that. The reference ACE is a very easy to navigate version of the energy code that we have on the website that is hyperlinked and searchable, that makes it a lot easier than PDF. And then finally, the virtual compliance assistant, which helps with confirming installation certificates. So I'll get those links and notes to you in the chat here. And thanks again for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Dave, and we look forward to seeing you in person next month for your training. So moving on, if we have anyone from CIOSC to provide an update. Let's see if we have anyone that would like to provide an update for the CBOAC, the County Building Officials of California. All right, and if we have Karen to provide an ICC update.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I could share my screen, I will. If I can't, that's fine. I'll just verbally share. I could throw in a little snippet for CIOSC. I'm on the board of the directors of the Structural Engineers Association of Southern California. So feel free to ask, refer to me if you have questions about what's going on with CIOSC. But it was a pleasure for our past president. She is now our past president, Maria Mohammed. She was a co-teacher with me last month at your training matrix, talking about accelerated building reoccupancy programs, the FEMA program, as well as how to engage in code development. So let us know if you want more info on that. And CIOSC tonight actually is having their Top Golf event. So if you like to golf or you just like to network with structural engineers, I believe there's still space to participate. So check that out for this evening. As far as ICC goes, thank you to the chapter for sharing my ICC announcements. I just peeked on the LA Basin web page. I do see on the homepage, you can get right to our ICC government relations newsletter. I'm also happy to add you to my friends list if you're not on the board, because if you're on the board, you get it automatically. But if you haven't already fallen into my list, if you're wanting to receive it, I'm happy to add that to my list to get that to your inboxes right away. A few quick notes from the Code Council. One, it's not too early to register for our annual conference. It's coming to Nashville, Tennessee in October 18th through the 21st. It'll be at the Gaylord Opryland, and registration is open. So please go ahead and jump on that as quickly as you can to lock in your space and your travel arrangements. There's always a lot going on. I'll share more on it as it comes closer as far as things specifically to look out for. But because it is in the music capital. And because there isn't any code hearings, we can really lean into maybe some more of the culture and the music that's happening. In addition to our education, our networking, there will be important voting taking place. So all of our governmental members will want you to make sure you're there to be able to participate in voting for our board members, as well as some bylaw changes that are going to be considered. Otherwise, what's going on with code development? We are officially done developing the 2027 codes, which might blow your mind if you're just still wrapping your arms around our new 2025 Title 24 here in California based on our 24 codes. But the 27 codes are now in the process of being published by ICC. And so later this summer or early fall, we'll have those available in print or on our online Digital Codes Premium. And it's not too late to be thinking about code changes for the 2030. So as I noted, I recognize that sometimes it can be hard to think ahead, but there may have been something that's been bothering you in the codes for a while and it may not have been addressed, or you might have some local amendments that you really feel are important and would be effective, not just for your local community, but for other parts of the country as well. That would be another fantastic way to contribute. And so you can check to see if it's been addressed. If it hasn't, that's a way to participate in 2030. And so that process starts right away in January. And I will drop a few links into the chat when I'm done talking with you guys as well. I do see I have the share option now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now you can see what I'm seeing on my screen. This is just some deadlines that you can put into your calendar. January 12th will be the first opportunity to have code change proposals for the Group A code. So that's our life safety aspects for our building code, of the fire code or wildland urban interface code. So half of the model codes get discussed in Group A, and then the other half are Group B. And so if you want the full list of all the mini deadlines, this is one of the links I'll drop into the chat that'll give you all of the interim steps. So, you know, once the code changes are submitted, then when will you be able to see them? When will you be able to comment on other people's? Because that's another great way to participate. Maybe you don't want to provide the initial idea, but you want to provide input on someone else's. So in the background, you see on the slide here, we also have a note for what other meetings are coming. We'll have the spring hearings will be in Dallas, Texas for the next 2 years, which I think is fortunate. We're in California. You had to travel all the way to Hartford, Connecticut if you wanted to participate in hearings this past spring. The nice thing is that it'll be easier to get to, middle of the country. And then the following fall, even though I said this fall will be in Nashville, the following fall will be in Reno, Nevada, so almost California. So again, I'll drop that into the chat. Couple ways to serve. One, and I believe I shared this with you in the past, but this is a great link that I'm going to put into the chat too. And this is an interested parties list. It'll take you to all of our current committees, our standards guidelines, our guideline committees. Yesterday was just the second meeting of the G12, which is on data centers. If that is a type of building that you're interested in, you hear a lot of conversations, you want to have your ear to the ground as far as what might be coming, that's a good one to participate in. And so they've already set their committee, but you can be invited to participate as an interested party. They do their meetings online. So that's one example where you can select and add me. You'll notice there's a remove comment here too. So if you feel like you sign up for too many things, you're like, oh gosh, I don't want all this stuff, you can always go back to the same link and ask to be removed off of items. The other one that I think might be of interest in all throughout California is our G13 guideline committee. This is on residential high density multifamily housing, sometimes referred to middle housing. We have a brand new publication that just came out that also is a first step in this guideline committee work to address multifamily housing provisions. Sometimes people are struggling with what is required for multifamily construction. You know, we have our IBC, we have our IRC. In California, our CRC, they're talking about expanding the scope of that to be able to maybe capture some more multifamily housing. That might be the future of where some of this goes, but we really want that to happen at the model code level with all of our building safety professionals. We don't want it legislated. So this is another great way for you to stay in the know, to even participate and share your opinions. You can join some of the working groups, again, to follow your expertise, even if you're not on the committee per se. And then the last one I want to share, and I've chatted with you about this before, is our membership councils. You can join all of these membership councils if you like. You can join just one. But what we're also have available through next week, through July 15th, is that you can apply to be on one of the governing committees of the councils. So councils are available as a free membership perk. Anyone who has an ICC membership can join. But if you want to be on the governing committee, that means that you have extra responsibilities. You're expected to participate, to show up to meetings, and because of that, ICC will pay for you to attend our in-person meetings, which happen in conjunction with our spring meeting and with our fall meeting. So it's also a good way if you're looking for a way to be able to financially assist you getting to our annual meetings. So I would recommend that you consider it for lots of reasons. I am the staff liaison for our building membership council, and then my colleague in the north, Christine Reed, is our staff liaison for the fire service membership council. But we also have a major jurisdictions council, which makes a lot of sense for the LA Basin area. That might be where you would be most interested in participating. So those are due again next Wednesday. It's a quick form that you fill out. I will drop that link in the chat too. And when you go on to it, the item that just popped up is what you'll see. It shows you how many seats are available on each of these governing committee councils, because people serve a tenure, and then once they roll off, they can reapply for a second round, or then once they've done two, they just have to roll off so we can get some new people in there. So for the building membership council, you can see we will have 5 open seats. We do have 5 current members who could be eligible for an additional term. Now, whether or not they are going to reapply, we don't know. And we may have some other people who just have different priorities, and they may fall off as well. So there could be more opportunities. So you can go on and select the council that you're interested in, and you can have more than one, just prioritize your order. So anyways, that is all I have to share. Thank you for allowing me to share my screen. I'll stop sharing that now, and I will pass it back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Karen. Lots of great updates, and we always appreciate the ICC trying to keep us ahead of the legislation.
Thank you.
That's always something that we all need to be mindful of, and it sounded like some great membership council opportunities. So if we have any other chapters that would like to provide an update of their upcoming events. All right, so then moving on to our main event, which is the training topic. So this is something that we've all been hearing a lot about, just AI, how it can help serve our building departments. So we do have 2 presenters today, which is Brandon Levy and Michael Lowe. And again, this is actually going to be presented, and we will have CEUs that will be made available. And our secretary will go ahead and send those out after our meeting. I'll go ahead and hand it over to Brandon and Michael to go ahead and start their presentation.
Great, thank you so much. Give me one moment to share my screen here. Awesome. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Brandon Levy. I'm the CEO and founder at EG, and joined by Mike Lowe, who's the Chief Building Official at the City of Lompoc. And we're excited to have a chance to meet with you and talk to you all today. And just a little bit about me, and then I'll hand it over to Mike to introduce himself as well. So my background, I've worked in technology for the last 20 years. Past life used to work for a DOE national laboratory and started a couple of small brands and at night, which led to a software business that we ran for 10 years before selling it to Square in 2020, and then ran a handful of our R&D teams there for our platform. and then left to do Ichi full-time right around 2 years ago. But the other part of my life is I grew up in construction. So my dad had a HVAC business since before I was born. So for about 40 years of my life, I have just a lot of memories around that business, or true to form. My earliest memories are going to job sites when I was 5, or starting in the sheet metal shop when I was 9, and just really always loved the opportunity to work in the construction industry. And so originally, when founding Ichi, it was an opportunity to meet a particular passion and history of mine in the construction space, and be able to bring another like passion and depth for technology to help make it better. And just a little bit about us as a company, we work with government jurisdictions, so cities and counties across the country, largely concentrated across California. We also work with like third-party code consultancies and architectural firms as well, providing AI tools to help with compliance and administration. I'll hand it over to Mike to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Michael Lowe. I've been in the construction industry for about 20 years now. Quick background on me is I actually started as a apprentice carpenter, union carpenter, worked in the LA area, grew up in the San Gabriel Valley. And then after about 18 months of working there, I actually moved to the Midwest. I spent about 12 years in Iowa, and continued working as a carpenter, primarily in large commercial industrial settings, doing cast-in-place concrete formwork. In about 2016, I jumped over into the regulatory side of the industry as a building inspector, and also went back to school to begin studying urban planning, where I got a bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree in public administration. Professionally, I continued to progress through the natural rungs of a building department, became a plans examiner for Iowa State Fire Marshal, and then took on the role of chief building official for the city of San Luis Obispo back in 22. And so I was working there when I first started learning about AI in our industry. Initially, I was approached in that role by a research group from Stanford who was developing a tool to do pre-screens on plans. And they were looking at integrating it into permitting software. And many of the AI systems that are available for us today are actually in that area, which is a little bit different than Ichi and maybe some of the other AI platforms that we're used to. But then in late 2024, I heard about Ichi. They reached out to me, and we began implementing and starting to use the AI product within the building department at San Luis Obispo in January of 25. And so since then, I've been continually learning about this tool, continually implementing it as a tool for various staff, various roles, and excited to have my first opportunity to be a instructor or to speak to a group of ICC on this topic. So looking forward to answering questions and sharing more about what I've learned and how it can help you guys moving forward.
Great, thanks, Mike. And then just a couple of other things, and then we'll jump into the meat of the presentation. So when we were thinking about what to present today for this group, what I have found is that I think a lot of AI presentations over the last couple of years have focused a lot on kind of like the theory or just sort of like broad brushstrokes around how it works. And we'll cover a little bit of that today. But given the maturation of the industry and how people are using it, we wanted to use this less about theory and not to make it some advertisement for Ichi specifically. While we'll certainly use Ichi to demonstrate or illustrate a handful of things, we wanted to get to more like practical use cases, or hopefully each of you are able to walk away with one new thing or one deeper thing that you can use on your day-to-day or week-to-week to help you get your job done better, faster, and more efficiently. For Q&A, feel free to drop in questions at any point in time. We'll do our best to look at it during the presentation, but Guillermo and others will be looking out too, and feel free to interrupt us as well. And so as we start to go through the presentation, we'll bounce back and forth from sharing information to demoing some real use cases. But if there's something that's really pressing or important to you and you want to try or talk through live, that's great. We'll do our best to manage time through the presentation so that there's time for questions and stuff at the end. But if that's something that comes up in the middle and you're inspired to do so, please, feel free. We're here to help and would love to dig in with you. So without further ado, I'll hand it back to Mike to start off the next part of the presentation, and then him and I will go back and forth as we go through this talk together.
Yeah, thanks. So I wanted to start out by sharing how I first interacted with AI. So it was in December when I learned about Ichi, and by January we began piloting it in our building department. And at that time, I had just promoted a very, very enthusiastic building inspector, very minimal levels of academic attainment. Yeah, I'm seeing slides. It looks good for me. And so at that time, I was spending about 3 to 4 hours a week, so roughly 10% of my time at work trying to work through and help this new plans examiner understand his approach to doing his job. And at the city of SLO, I only had one full-time plans examiner. So the training on this is very intensive in the work that we do with the amount of codes, the volumes, and just even understanding where to get started. And about 2 weeks after we began piloting this, I actually fell ill and had to take about 3.5 weeks off of work. And, when I came back, I actually did not recognize my plans examiner. So he had just started working with the AI tool at that time. And our 3 to 4 hours a week turned into about 45 minutes a week. And it fundamentally changed the relationship that we had. So before, he would schedule time on my calendar and I would sit down with him and we'd open the code book, we'd go through code sections, we'd talk about interpretations, how it should look on the plans. But after he had access to the AI tool, those meetings, he would come into my office for about 45 minutes and he'd have a list of different questions he wanted to work through. He had already done the research, he had already provided the interpretation, and he just put a paper in front of me on the topic that he needed more reassurance on. And we just had, real conversations about the practical application of the code without having to, talk about where in the code it is or the applicate or any of the other, background work that we were doing before. And so in that moment, what I realized was the difference maker there was obviously the AI. I hadn't done anything. He had just simply had access to this powerful tool. And he wanted to double check himself because, AI is still being questioned in terms of accuracy. And so what I saw, though, was it at least did all the background so that we can start and have that conversation. We can go to the next slide. And I bring that up because the AI is supposed to work for you in the same way that an employee, like our plans examiners, would work for a building official. And so if we could, sorry, Brandon, can we go to the next slide there?
All right.
Yeah, and then
you guys hear from me? Yep. Edgar, Acel. Right. All right. Did you guys get engineer?
Oh, sorry. Okay, great. Thank you. And so one of the other elements of using AI in our industry, I have a buddy who's still back in the Midwest. His name's Russ. He was a carpenter, a union carpenter with me for about 20 years, actually, before he jumped over to being a building inspector. And then worked as a building inspector, but never progressed in his career because he just wasn't comfortable with written skills. He wasn't comfortable in terms of like writing or drafting comments. He was just more comfortable in the field. But recently he's made the jump because of his ability to be better at the role with the assistance of AI. And when I first started talking to him about this, he said, well, it feels like I'm cheating. And I said, well, I don't know why it would make you feel like you're cheating. It simply makes you look like the best plans examiner that there is. The AI becomes the equalizer for individuals who may not have the ability to go to school and develop those writing skills. I know several building inspectors who never progressed in their career because they didn't have the opportunity to go to college, or they came from the trades like myself. And so what I found is that it doesn't make you less of a building official. It really makes you the best one, including and that's regardless of what your background is. And then if we can go to the next slide. This is the question and the items that I see come up. The conversation in our industry a lot is, well, it's just going to take our jobs away, especially in some of the shops where there's a strong union. There's resistance to this change where it might be concerns of reducing the number of employees. Realistically, over the last 18 months that I've been using it, I haven't gotten to the point where I can actually replace any positions with AI or because of AI. In fact, what I've seen is actually the positions are being replaced by permitting software, primarily permit techs who used to have to manually route plans. And so will it happen as it gets better? I'm sure it'll make us more efficient. Just even the example of my plans examiner in SLO reducing the amount of time from 4 hours a week to 1 hour a week, that's going to result in more free time for employees to do hopefully more work. But as of today, really where the AI is at is just helping building officials accomplish specific tasks, and specifically the tedious tasks of code research, of drafting emails, of writing. And so, one of the ways that I'm starting to really break this down and to identify in my own division with my own staff how the AI could be implemented is actually rolling back to the old way that we used to do government, which is through standard operating procedures. So I've gone through and started to create lists of or SOPs for each of the positions so that I can see exactly where those administrative tasks are, particularly the tedious ones, and how AI can be used, not necessarily to replace the employee, but to empower the employee to, do a better job, do it more quickly, do it more accurately. And so right now, where we are as an industry with this new technology is it's not going to replace us. I think it's actually going to help us catch up. ICC has regularly produced studies about, the state of the industry, the number of people who are going to retire in the next few years. I think in 2016, I saw like 85% of building regulators are going to retire within the next 15 years. And, I know more recent studies have been published, I think, on like the average age of a plans examiner being close to 60. And so most of us are already falling behind, we're buried. And what I see AI right now is just helping not just equalize us as an industry in terms of the quality of work that we produce, but in the quantity as well. So that's my opening introduction about the use of the tool or AI in our industry. And I'll go ahead and hand it back over to you, Brandon.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And I want to go into this next section to go through a little bit of some more like specifics in terms of how to actually think about it or mental models for it. And one thing I want to share in advance of that is like you all on this call are building officials or plan examiners or inspectors or permit techs, or Mike is a building official and wears a lot of different hats between his roles from San Luis Obispo and Lompoc. But what I think is quite interesting is thematically all of those points that were shared are also consistent for a technology business as well. And what I'm finding is the amount of the ability to parallelize work or to go deeper than I would have been able to before, or there's some small things that kind of are like never reach the top of the priority list. And it would just take too much time to do, but I can offload some of those more like rote or repetitive tasks. And those are seeing like an enormous amount of help from AI and how I work with it. Now, in terms of how to think about it, I think there's been a leveling of a perception that like AI is just gonna kind of like magically do everything we need it to do. And I think folks that have spent more time with it realize that that's really not where it is. Maybe it will get there someday, but it's certainly not there. The mental model I like to think of a lot is, imagine if you were hiring a personal assistant who was a very skilled individual, but like they didn't necessarily understand all the ways that you like to work or what you needed to do. And you may not understand all the ways of how you want to work with them. And so it takes a little bit of time and working back and forth on that. And so practically, like one of the best ways of working with it or working with AI is to be specific about what your end goal is. So for instance, it could be something as simple as, hey, I just need help like writing this email. And so I want your help to do the research and enable me to draft it. Just like sharing that context with a person is going to be really helpful for them to get their work done. Being specific with an AI tool like that is also really helpful. Or in the next section, one of the things I want to talk about is actually just talking to it. This is something that comes up a lot, in particular with inspectors that we work with, where it's really common as an inspector or a building official or code enforcement officer to just, you see something out in the field at a job and you know that you need to resolve it, but there's a lot of different, there's a lot of context that you have about that situation, or you need to be able to share in order to be able to resolve it. And so going like with that end goal where you want it to go is actually going to be really helpful for the AI to help you get there. Otherwise, it's just kind of thinking a little bit more blindly in terms of what you want to accomplish. Next, understand the tool's capabilities, like what it can and can actually do. And later in the presentation, towards the end, want to talk a little bit about the difference in technical terms, what we would call like an LLM or a harness. But the thing that I wanted to bring up is, I think there's a quite a bit of discussion or visibility to like high level tools like ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude or Google's Gemini. And those are very like general tools for accomplishing a whole bunch of different tasks. But there's also a lot of other more specific products out there, like not just talking about Ichi, but even in our team, I think we're using 20 or more different AI tools on a regular basis every day in our day-to-day. And some of them are fully AI enabled, some of them just have small AI features. But the point is that each one has its own specialty of what it does and how it does it. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind as well as you work with different tools is just like humans, no AI tool is going to have the ability to get everything done that you need to get done in every which way you need to do it. And so certain tools are going to be better at certain functions, and you understanding those limits can be really helpful to enable you to work with it more effectively, because I think the sweet spot is not expecting it to do 100% of the work or to not be able to do anything, but think of it more as, hey, this is something that can help me get 50% or 80% of the way there. And sometimes it can do 100, but think of it more from a perspective of those limits, and then you take it to the finish line. And it's going to be, I think, a lot more helpful in terms of like practically what it's able to get done for you on a day-to-day. I'll hand it back to you, to Mike, to talk about that eliminated room.
Yeah, so in terms of how the AI works, and I don't know, let me just see here. Looks like, okay, yeah. So I got the little hand button here. It's at the top right hand of your team screen. Just curious for the group, how many of you have explored using an AI tool in any capacity, whether it's like a chat GPT? If we could just see a show of hands, it'd be great to just see how frequent or often. And just so you all know, I use AI. I just find it very fun. Okay, so we're already at 17, 18, 19. Cool. Okay, so when you're typing something into the AI and even, you know, building on what Brandon was saying about just talk to it, I like to think of it as somebody who you're holding a conversation with. And so in the same regard, sometimes maybe you'll be thinking about something in your head and you'll just go have a conversation, and you know, the person you're talking to will stop and be like, wait a second, what context is this in? What does this even mean? And you say, oh, sorry, let me go back real quick and fill you in on the background and then get to my question. And that's exactly how AI works as well. When you're within a chat, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Claude, whether it's Ichi, there isn't context. It has access to source information, and it has pattern matching skills, essentially. However, if you just type in a question, it's then going to begin to build context based on that question you give it. So the way I like to describe it is, imagine you have a master code professional sitting in a dark room and you just ask it a question. Well, it'll answer the question, but how clear are you on it? And so every time you give it another question or you give it more information, you begin to illuminate the room that that master code professional is in, so that it has a better context of its environment to answer the question. Maybe to shift that example a little bit, instead of a master code professional, imagine a scenario where you have a muralist, an artist, sitting in a dark room, and all you tell it to do is go paint a mural on the wall. Well, it's going to go paint a mural. It's going to go onto a wall, but we don't know exactly where that wall is going to be. We don't know what the mural is going to be. We don't know the type of paint it's going to use. It's just going to go paint a mural on the wall. Now, if you give it more information, more context, and say you're in a square room with, you know, a 12 by 12 wall on one side and a 10 by 10 wall on the other side, go to the 12 by 12 wall, create a mural of whatever, a bridge, and use acrylic paints to do this. It's going to have a much better output in response. And then as it does that, maybe it'll give you a very generic model. You then can continue to iterate on that within a chat system. But the important thing to recognize is that anytime you start a chat, and there are different ways to create controls for this through the use of memory. But basically, anytime you start a chat, you always need to give the AI context, just like you would with an employee who you're giving a directive to or giving an assignment to. And yeah, so let's just see here. I do have some examples for that as well, Brandon. So I'm not sure if you want to jump in on any of that, or if you want to move on to the next slide.
Oh, sure. Yeah, if you want to go through some examples, go for it. Then I'll jump into the last part of this.
Okay. Yeah, and this was going back to some of the things about inspectors as well. I wanted to give an example about that. One of the things, and I'll go ahead and just share my screen here to kind of show you what I'm talking about. All right. Should be seeing my screen now. So this is the Ichi environment, and this is a prompt that I went ahead and dropped into the chat. Now, typical prompts that you might see if you're using a ChatGPT or a different one may just be a sentence or two. But in this instance, I created this prompt. I didn't actually write all this out myself. I used AI to create the prompt. So already the human element is using AI to create, better or improve AI. But basically, what I've done through the use of some memory and standard operating procedures, as well as very specific directions, is give the AI instructions on not just what to look for, but how to present the information to me. Now, building on that example that I gave you about Sean and how he just walked into my plans examiner in SLO, and how he walked into my office with all the information, that's the environment that I am trying to replicate here, where I don't have to turn a page in the book. I don't have to turn a page in the plans. The AI is going to go do all of that administrative work for me and just bring me the information to my screen to quickly go through and analyze. And so this prompt was dropped in, and the way that Ichi works is it has files in the vault. And so in this case, I have the plans for a project, and we also have access to the code to double check everything. Now, when this prompt goes in, it gives very explicit instructions on how to, what information to look for and how to present that information to me. And so what I'm asking it to do in this prompt is to go through the plans as well as the code to find these very specific items that are going to be inspected, and to present it in a way so that I have all the source information. And initially, it produced these tables here, and it gave me these checklist items. Now, these checklist items are what I have plugged into our InterGov environment. I still see a lot of hands up here. I was going to ask another question if you guys wanted to put those hands down, but just curious, by a show of hands, how many jurisdictions are using Tyler Tech's EPL or InterGov? Okay, so we got quite a few. So I'll just jump over here so you guys can see. This is our inspection background. So I have preloaded in inspection checklists into InterGov, and it is these checklist items that I actually programmed into the prompt. So now when my inspector walks onto a job site, he already has the plans in the AI. He already has the prompts preloaded in our prompt library where he can do it. And he just hits that prompt, and it will go through and it will sift through all of that information in the plans as well as the codes. Now, Brandon mentioned you just need to talk to it. And just like an employee, it actually didn't do what I asked it to do the first time. Not that all employees don't do that, sorry. But the purpose, what it didn't do was give me the citations the way I wanted it. It actually gave me a citation from the plans. And so instead, I just told it, hey, try again. The code citation common links to the sheet in the plans. It should link to the codex. And it produced this checklist now. So now I've taken that InterGov checklist and used the AI to supplement it so that my inspector has direct access to the location in the plans where information about demising walls are found. It pulls it straight up to that sheet, or being able to click just on the code and take you directly into the code. Now, some of the things that I've had or heard from inspectors is that, honestly, I don't really need the code in the field a lot, except when I need to look something up real quick, and it just works quicker on Google. And so to address that, that's why I built this system in this way, so that when they're walking onto the job site, they already have the code sections relevant. Now, I'll go ahead and just show you one other thing. The way that this is designed is to then be able to produce the inspection notes for my inspector so they can copy it and paste it right into the InterGov environment. And so, for example, I'll go ahead and just say, let me turn the voice on. Okay, I'm doing the inspection and everything looks good, except I don't have any backing in the accessible stalls for grab bars. And then I also didn't receive the special inspections report for the welding to facilitate or to create the opening for the new HVAC unit. Go ahead and write my correction notes for those items. And this is where this is the part of the inspector's job where I have noticed that they can use the most assistance, which is typing up, writing the notes, making sure that they're grammatically correct, making sure that they're accompanied by proper code citations. And then the way that I have my system set up is once this inspection is logged into our EPL environment, it just automatically sends the report to the contractor. So as soon as they leave the building, they're done with that inspection. There's no going back after the fact, having to follow up. All of that information is put into that report. And we'll give it a couple seconds here to just see how this rolls. Yeah, and so it is working on it.
Hey,
And then
Michael,
yeah,
while
go
we're
ahead.
waiting for that to generate, I put a question in the chat. I was just curious if designers could use this as a pre-check before submitting.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Brandon. I'll let you go ahead and answer that question about designers using this as a pre-check.
Yes, long story short is yes. The way we look at it is, while there's absolutely unique workflows or jobs that the jurisdictions need to do and the designers need to do, there are many things that are two sides of the same coins. So yes, and we do actually have architecture firms using Ichi today for those exact purposes, amongst other things. Furthermore, we see a great opportunity to provide more connective tissue where between the designers and the jurisdictions to help answer questions, remediate inconsistencies and the like as well. So hopefully it's not just about the pre-checks, but also fostering the collaboration with the AI in the middle of it to help make the entire communication and remediation processes simpler as well.
Yeah, thanks for that. And then I'll just go ahead and point to the screen now. So it took 45 seconds to write these notes, and you could say, well, I could just talk into Intergov and write them, in 10 seconds. Well, that may be true, and I have an inspector that has that mindset at times, but at the same time, the level of detail that it's provided, specifically the sheet number from the plans, the code citation, there are other factors that it's working on to provide really, like I said, being the best building official, being the best building inspector. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen now, Brandon, if you want to take back over. And then also, I see some hands up. Are those hands for questions?
I think they may have been
okay
left up from the poll from before. But if they are questions, please feel free to jump in and interrupt at any point. Cool. And yeah, Mike, thank you for going through those specific examples. That was one of the things we really wanted to spend more time doing today, is just showing you real systems, or it's great to be able to show EPL or whatnot, of just how to actually use some of these systems together or inspire some ideas of how to use it practically in your work. And then Mike really already touched on this a lot, but I'll just double click briefly on it around conversational. For anything that's beyond a simple task or simple questions, in my personal experience, it's extraordinarily rare to just interact with the AI one time and get exactly what I need. And so this notion of being conversational and this mental model of treating it a little bit more like a human in terms of having to go back and forth a little bit is extremely helpful. And Mike will talk a bit more about this later too. But even in the software development world, when we're going to, whether it's work on a small feature or make a large change, there's two modes that we operate in. One mode is called planning mode, which I think you could think of more as like research mode. And that's like gathering the information that you need in order to get your work done. And then the next mode is more of an execution mode. So it's like, all right, now that I've done my research, now go complete these particular tasks for me. And I think that's what you saw from Mike as well, where there's these two research steps. One of them is the research itself. The next one was correcting it. And then once you had that information at your fingertips, you can use it easily on the job, and then also use that to then start to generate the violations, or just even for our tools, like we have things that are rolling out soon for templates of notice of violations and filling those out. And all this goes a lot further in terms of helping you get your work done. But the main point is that you go back and forth with it a few times as well, and you're able to parallelize those tasks. Now, moving on to this notion of just talk to it, this is one I like to bring up because it ends up becoming, I think, one of the most practical cases for how to work with AI, and especially in a building department where you're Mike mentioned it before, but I would say from what we see, chronically understaffed. I mean, even when I went to Calbo earlier this year, I cannot think of a building official that I spoke to that wasn't struggling hiring new people or didn't have open job recs open for several months, if not years sometimes. And that challenge is forcing all of us to do more with less. And so some of the things that can be hard, whether it's like our own just like technological abilities, but is also just like the parallelization of what we're doing. So going back to the inspector case as an example, like if I'm out walking a project, I'm probably not going to have as much time to stop and type questions or share everything that I would need to. And so I was in a real training meeting with one of our customers. It was with their supervising inspector and 5 or 6 inspectors on their team. And they were like, well, I had this situation that came up a few weeks ago. What do I, like, how do I do it? Like, what do I do? How do I work with it to help figure out what I do in the situation? And my response was just talk to it. They're like, well, what do you mean just talk to it? Like, what does that actually mean? And so I'm going to switch with screen I'm sharing to go back to Ichi here. Moment. And whether it's Ichi or other AI tools, so I'm in Ichi here. I'm going to go into this demo project that I have and start a new chat. On many AI tools, you'll see a microphone, or we've put it in many places inside of Ichi, and the microphone is like when we say talk to it, is like literally just talk to it, and it has a greater understanding of construction language. So rather than this old way of working where if you have a situation or a challenge, you have to think of that like perfect way of working with the technology because you don't want to get it wrong or you don't want to risk breaking it. You don't have to have those same concerns with AI. Like you're probably not going to break it, or if you get into a weird place, just start a new chat, start a new conversation. But going to this inspection case, when we talked to the inspectors, like, well, just talk to it. What I meant is turn on voice and share what's going on. So to illustrate this, like I'm out in the field, they built a deck with a large overhang and there's a 1600 amp switchgear underneath it. It's really close to the joist. I find it hard to believe that this is acceptable. Tell me whether or not it is. And in your analysis, make sure to cover fire separation and other factors as you do your research. And then send that up. And so whether that's on your phone or your tablet or on your computer, the point is I'm not working to frame a perfect question or to really get specific about exactly what it is that I need. I'm more just sharing with it as if I was out in the field and I'm there with another inspector, or I want to call up my building official and ask them some questions, and giving them that additional context, that same context that Mike was referring to before.
You mean Tim can take over?
Oh, sorry. Okay. The audio just came. And so the point with that is it's all about like sharing the context of that particular situation and what's happening. And this then was like a pretty quick way. I just talked to it. 23 seconds later, It's doing code research across fire codes and building codes and all of that. And then I can continue to move forward on this path. And as I now get to this point and, say I'm just like working on my phone and talking to it, it's just like, great, that's helpful. I thought that this would be an issue. I need to follow up with this customer after with a notice of violation. So in particular, like points 1, 2, and 3, draft me an email response and prep me for my notice of violation so that when I get back to my desk, I can put this in an email and send it out to them. But the big thing about the voice part practically, and whether or not this is Ichi or I do this all the time with Claude and software development as well, is we can usually talk like 2 to 3 times faster than we can type. For some folks, it's even like 10 times faster to talk than type. The other thing is little misspellings or turn of phrase or things like that are often perfectly okay. Like even this morning, I was dictating to Claude about a question I had related to Gemini, like the Google AI product, and it transcribed it as Jim and I, like that's what it thought that I said. But it figured it out. It still got it right. It knew I was talking about Gemini once it actually thought through the process. And so these types of things, these like little nuances or idiosyncrasies or precision that we all needed to target in the past, so much of it has gone out the window. And so I think if you or anyone in your team, just find yourself in a position of like, I don't know where to start, literally just talk to it. And I think it's just start sharing the situation, what's going on. And I think you'll be impressed by how quickly you'll be able to get to where you need to go. Furthermore, that additional context, better than that, like if I share just like a terse 5 words to ask this question, that additional context about the situation, like they built the deck and there's an overhang and the size of the switchgear and the like, that's all really rich and helpful information for the AI. And the way that it works behind the scenes is every single one of those bits of information helps it pull better research and analysis to eventually get to its final response for you. All right, I'm going to stop sharing there, but hopefully it gives you a little sense of.
Jeff, did you have a question?
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
I did. Thank you. It was on that topic that you were on. I wanted to ask, sometimes the question you ask may be too broad. Does the system have the ability to basically engage in a conversation with you to more narrow down so it gives you a more intelligible answer? Maybe too broad of an answer, but it might say, well, tell me what kind of wall it's on, or tell me more about the equipment. So can it engage you in order to fine tune the answer it gives?
Yeah. And Brandon, maybe I think Brandon and I, you and I have worked through this before. I don't know if maybe you want to give it a prompt where you prompt it to prompt you, if you know what I'm talking about. And so
Sorry.
Go ahead. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, and I think long story short, Jeff, is yes. And some of it would be implicit. So let's go back up here to this example and it gave me these, and let's just pretend these were too general for me. I would just come back to it and say, hey, like these are too general. I need you to be more more specific or enumerate on some of these things. Or I would say, I don't actually understand this, or this doesn't seem quite right. Like, can you ask me some you could just tell the AI, ask me some clarifying questions to get to a better place. Additionally, I think what you'll start to see in more and more tools and what we've built into Ichi is, I asked this question here around calculating plumbing requirements for an auditorium. This, the way that the agents work behind the scenes is first they gather information to help answer the question, but they also try to figure out if there's more information that they could get that would help give a better answer. And so I like to demo this particular case because auditoriums can have a number of different occupancy situations, and depending on those are going to impact what the final calculation is. And in this case, the AI is engaging more directly, where it's coming back with clarifying questions like, does it have fixed seating or not? Let's say, yes, it does, or 888 seats. or let's just say this is a A1 because it's a movie theater or something. But it's going to use those clarifying questions to help get to a better answer more quickly. So I bring this up just to share a couple of examples of you can either instruct it to do that for you, or in a variety of different ways, or you can also in other tools start to rely on those tools' ability to also understand the nuances of questions and come back to you with clarifying ones.
Thank you.
Let me get back here to the presentation. I want to hand it back over to Mike to talk through some additional practical AI use in a building department. And then after that, I want to share a little bit around what we would call like workflows are starting to augment some, instead of specific tasks, but a broader set of work. And then we'll close out the presentation from there.
Yeah, and I'm actually, I appreciate the slide, but I'm actually going to share my screen again to give another demo on this. So I want to get this right. I want to show a practical use for the group and how I'm using it in plan review. One of the interesting things, one of the prompts that I would see from building officials pretty frequently was a very broad one, which was review the plans for code compliance. And it will do some, but again, being in that illuminated room, it's like telling a muralist, go to the wall and paint a mural. That's the amount of context you have. And so in this instance, I have another one of these more sophisticated prompts with very clear instructions. And it's not giving instructions necessarily on what exactly to look for. I do have some of that here in a checklist, but more specifically, I'm giving instructions in the prompt on how the AI should behave. And going back to that question from Jeff, Brandon said you could prompt it or direct it to do that. In this prompt, I have give me a recommended next step. Now you can put in here very general things for the AI to bring out its own recommendation, but I gave it a specific recommendation that I want it to give me after every time this prompt runs. Now I use this prompt as when I'm doing plan review. And the instructions are to bring all of the information I need to review a specific item from the checklist to the forefront of the chat. And so when it runs, it goes through the files, it finds occupancy group and use, it gives me my code citation so I could quickly check it, and then it also gives me the link to where it is in the plans. And so in this case, in this specific project, it probably would have typically taken me about 20 to 25 hours to do a very thorough plan review of this very extensive TI, all electrical, mechanical upgrades, ADA upgrades, there's structural components, and I was able to complete it in about 5 hours with about 40, I think it was like 47 comments I came up with on the first pass. And so the way that I did it was through these prompts. And as you can see, I also have it give me an indication of what does the AI think it's correct or not? Does it think it's code compliant? Now, this is where it's very important to make sure that whatever prompt you have, you work in the human element. You don't want to, where the AI is right now, try to get it to fully automate the entire process. There needs to be a clear understanding of the capacity of and the capabilities of the AI. And so if I were to give it a checklist of 40 items here, it will probably only do the first 20. But if I give it 10 items, it'll do all 10 and it'll do it thoroughly. And that's just where we are right now in terms of technology. And Brandon can talk about how we're taking that to a bigger step in a minute. But basically, the idea being is knowing the capacity and then replicating that in that process. And so as you can see, it went through, it pulled all the data into this central location for the code compliance, as well as the exact pages and where I would find that information, very similar to how I was using it for inspections. And this is really key to how the AI works with the two modes. You first need to do the research with the AI and be able to have that human element go through and double check all of these things. Make sure that it's accurate. And then once you see that it's accurate, you can then have it go and produce the work product, which is why I've given the recommendation right here. So for a hypothetical sense, I went ahead and did it. And I'm just going to say, yes, create code comments. And so, and this will give me a good opportunity now to also talk about hallucinations. So when AI first came onto the government scene, we heard a lot about hallucinations because there were attorneys that were getting, I think they were getting cited in court because they were submitting briefs that had fake court cases. And what I have experienced is that when I am directing the AI to do something, paint a mural on the wall, if I'm telling it to do it, it will do it, even if it's not something it should do. A good example of this is the other day, I was writing an amendment to our municipal code that was being recommended to the council, and I told it to go ahead and create an amendment for an exception in the code and provide the legal justification of it. It made the amendment as I directed it, and it provided a legal justification, but it cited a code exception that didn't exist. And it was because I gave it directions to do something that actually wasn't in the code. And so you have to be very careful when you're giving it directions for the output to make sure that before you even try to attempt to create a work product, you have a step in there to check the accuracy of that work product. Now, in this case, assuming that I have gone through and double checked the accuracy of all of this, within the time that I was talking, in 55 seconds, it wrote out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fully accurate, grammatically correct comments, code citations, as well as the page citations. And so understanding how the AI works, understanding its capacity, and never removing the human element of it, at least in the stage of where we are with the technology right now. So I'll go ahead and hand it back to you, Brandon, unless there's any specific questions on that. Happy to answer questions on that topic too.
Well, thanks, Mike. Come back and share my screen here. So want to bridge to the next part of AI and where it is and where it's going. So I think from kind of invention and initial use to say start of this year, I think things have been changing substantially over the last 6 months or so. Is AI has really been more of an assistant for targeted tasks or questions, and I think that's the dominant use that we still see today. What has started to change as well are being able to hand off like a more robust set of work, or what we call like a workflow, to have it get certain tasks done. And there's different approaches to this. Like in my own, personal use, I use it for a lot of like one-off type things that I don't have to do over and over again, but it's a longer running task or things that I want to parallelize. But there's a whole other body of work which often impacts like building departments or CDD teams more broadly, where you're doing the same task over and over again, or a similar type task over and over again, but the information that you're doing with changes every time. I think as we all see, even if you have your own permit application, it's going to be filled out a little bit differently, and then the construction documents are going to be different every time. Every architect or designer or engineer that's working on them is going to have their own style and format. Sometimes you're going to have a submittal that has 2 documents in it. Sometimes you're going to get 50 different documents and thousands of pages. And so how do you take this inconsistent set of information and apply consistent processes to it to get your work done simultaneously, where I would bet across all the jurisdictions represented on this call, maybe 60 to 80% of what you do is similar, but a lot of things are going to be a little bit different. And those differences actually do matter. They're really more of a feature, not a bug in the system. So what we've been exploring a lot are this notion of what we've talked about here today so far have been more prompts and how we work with an individual prompt and how to turn that into something that creates a whole string of actions that can be done. And in the future, to even take that to having multiple things that can be done. And we look at this a lot, to be very clear, as not like automating away someone's work, but really augmenting a lot of those rote or repetitive tasks that can be more cumbersome to do, and serving the information up as much as we can on more of a silver platter. And I think that's what Mike was showing with one of his previous demos for the inspector in the field, where the inspector can run one thing and be served up with 10, 20 different direct links and code citations and information that's going to be really helpful, as if that inspector had a personal assistant that was doing work before they got out to the job to really help them do a better job when they're there. And so want to just give you a brief demo of where this is going, or to show you what this looks like. Let me share my screen of the product once more. So what we've been exploring with our different forms of workflows, and I'm going to show you one today. And so let me start a new chat here, and I want to create a new workflow. I have some examples of workflows I could look to. Like I want to talk through a document completeness check, but let's pretend for my jurisdiction I had a new document completeness check I wanted to do. So when I start off this wizard here, I'm just going to share with it some information. So I want to do a document completeness check for permit intake, and let it clean that up for me a little bit. And then, like, what are the things I want it to check for as part of this intake? And so I'll talk to it and just say, make sure that there are plan sets or design documents that are included in the permit application. Ensure that they're indicating the occupancy group and construction type and whether or not sprinklers are being used. Check the design documents to see if there's structural elements, and if so, verify that there's also structural calculations in an additional document. Ensure that a window and door schedule are included in the plans, that there's also a plumbing fixture schedule, and on and on. We can just create like a whole list of items here. And then how do we want this output to look? And so I want it to create a document for me, and I want it to what I would call like linear. I want it to kind of do a bunch of tasks, one right after the other, and then as it completes those, finish this work. And how is this different than the chat experience that we're looking at before? The difference is what I'm doing here is creating a longer series of tasks, whether it's 5 or 10 like I just showed here, or whether it's 50 or 100, and I'm going to offload this to the AI to do this work. And also, I need to change this. Like we've gone to this analogy a bunch of, imagine it's like working with an employee or someone on your team. If you hire someone new who's really capable, you may teach or train them how to do a particular job. And the first time they do it, maybe they do it 30% or 50% good. And then you give them some feedback and you review their work. And then the next time they do it, it's 80%. And then you give them some more feedback and review the work. And the next time it's 90%. And before you know it, you're able to trust them with a much more robust or complex series of things to do. And I would encourage you to think about the mental model here very similarly, where you're going to create an initial flow and try it and see what it looks like. And then based on that, give it some feedback or make some changes to it. And then continue to improve it over time. And so as you do that, it's going to get smarter and smarter to be able to get those components of work done or those tasks done. And and then allow you to offload more and more of that. And yeah, once again, it's not meant to totally automate away something, but rather if you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, and you're just like, man, I really wish I could just have something that would create this pre-draft for me, and I'm going to go in and edit it and add to it rather than having to create it all myself every time. That's where it can be really helpful. And as humans, just like well-documented phenomena is that it takes us roughly 5 times longer to create something than it does to edit something. And so thinking of the AI more as, hey, this is my assistant that's going to help me get part of the way there or double check something for me, can be quite powerful. So what we see here is we gave it a limited set of information in this prompt. And what it turned into is this 2-dimensional canvas where it's going to go do a whole bunch of steps, like verify I've got the plan sets and the occupancy group and construction type and structural calculations. And I can always, change this as well. So say I forgot I also needed to make sure there is a site plan and a north arrow on it. And the way that AI is evolving is there's more and more skills getting baked in to take the limited information you give it and try to understand what that is to apply it in a more complex or robust case. So when we give the AI limited information here around site plans, it's translating that into a series of tasks, or you can even look to, here's the real instructions that it's using behind the scenes to do that work. And then finally here, it's going to, create this interactive document for you. These types of tools, the way we look at it, are ones that are designed to be used as just for yourself or to share with the rest of your team to be able to take advantage of them too. So that way, maybe a building official or the person that's running the counter can create some of these flows and then manage them for the rest of the team. And now that I've created this workflow, instead of me having to prompt it every time, I would just run it. And when I run it, it will then queue up this work. It'll start to complete it for me behind the scenes, and I can always track it or log it. And when it actually does complete, it's going to I'll share this one as an example. It's going to actually start to create like documents that I can interact with and change right on the fly too. And I wanted to bring this up because or also wanted to share this because it's emblematic of some of the things that Mike and I talked about before around like understanding the limitations of the tools that you work with or what's possible, and where tools are going or more integrated systems so that what particular task you want to do is going to no longer just be something where it's going to serve up a little bit of information for you, but it can help draft a report that you can then edit or change as you see fit to what your needs are, and then easily export it out or move it from one system to another, but be more of that like helpful assistant for different types of tasks or responsibilities that you want to be able to give it. So to conclude the presentation, just like a couple final things to share. One, yeah, in terms of best practices. Oh, sorry, hand that over to you, Mike.
Oh, yeah, I think what I would like to say is the way that I view AI is like a thunderstorm. It is an incredibly powerful technology, and applications like Ichi are, Brandon referred to it as a harness. I would call it like lightning in a bottle, and it's really, I think, changing our job. We are just getting killed in legislation, in political forums about red tape. And we all know that it's actually the planning division that's causing the delays, but it's easier for people to refer to building permits instead of entitlements. And the AI for me has just been the great equalizer. I've been able to produce so much work products in so little time. And it's just really giving me personally a lot more confidence in the work that I do, the accuracy of the work that I have. And so I want to encourage you all to just embrace it and to really explore it thoroughly. I have now been a part of 4 different building departments in my career. And this is actually the first one where I did not have to go through a technology upgrade. With the city of Des Moines, when I was an inspector, we went from Tidemark to Intergov EPL. At the state of Iowa, I went from an Excel spreadsheet into ImageTrend, and then we did another Intergov implementation when I was with SLO. And what a grueling process it was at every corner, trying to maintain operations at the same time as implementing new technology. And realistically, I do much better with a hammer in my hand than I do a computer. And AI is just such an easy thing to get into, to learn. And once you're in it and understand how you can mold it, how you can use it, you get to be creative with how it assists you. And so the best thing to do is just don't give up on it, because it will make us better as an industry. So those are just my final thoughts on best practices. Yeah, can hand it back over to you, Brandon.
Great. And sorry for folks that have questions in the chat. I'll try to quickly address some of those too. I was trying to type as fast as I could, but didn't get to all of them. Yeah, a couple other things, just like what about privacy? I was even talking to a jurisdiction yesterday who has not yet implemented AI inside of their jurisdiction wholly, let alone the CDD or building departments, but are very much desirous to, and their city council is pushing for them to find a way. And so privacy is a big thing that comes up a lot. And in my experience working across different government jurisdictions, and especially as things have matured, I think it's very practical for jurisdictions to enforce only using tools that do not train AI models on the information that's put into them. It's really, I think, not just like table stakes type of a thing, but also something that's important for the jurisdiction to do, to be able to commit to their communities that they're not going to be using things that would kind of like leak into a broader knowledge base. And I think even 6 months ago, let alone a year ago, there was a lot more ambiguity of if this could be done or how it was done and how different services were doing it. I think in today it's a lot more black and white and transparent about how safeguards are put in place or what the approach of different tools are. And just as like from a practical case, as you're implementing tools, I think it's just a really important thing to consider and always keep in mind. We talked about Bill for Workflows you do today. One other thing I wanted to share while on the soapbox that I've started to add more into some of the presentations compared to the past. I do think a fundamental difference of where we are today compared to a year ago is I would push pretty hard that it's incumbent upon everyone on this call and your teams to figure out how to use AI in your day-to-day in one way, shape, or form. Like it doesn't have to be Ichi. Like just do something. The analogy I like to jump to a lot is carpentry. Not because just Mike was a carpenter. I just think it's a really clear mental model. Is we have moved from a world where we used to only operate with hand saws or circular saws, and now we have compound miter saws. And we not only have compound miter saws, we have ones with lasers and ones with digital readings on them for the angles that we're making cuts at. And we're all going to get left behind if one generation of folks is learning how to use a compound miter saw every day and the rest of us are still using a handsaw. And that's what's going on with AI right now. And the thing about that analogy is not like there's one way to use those saws. There's many different ways, and different people have different techniques and approaches. And I would want all of you to think about AI similarly. Like my approach and my way of doing it is really working for me, and Mike's really working for him. And those are not the same. And that's perfectly okay. And so if you think about it more as just like another
this is
tool
Sahar from Building and Safety. You called me earlier?
Oh, sorry. Is just a different set of tools in your toolbox. How do you get better at it? You just practice and play. like I think I want to use the word play very deliberately here, because you're not going to break it. You're not logging into like Acela and you're going to do something wrong in your configuration and you're going to have to go unpackage it and it's going to create a bunch of issues. Just like I said, literally start a new chat or start a new project or something and just try some stuff. And I think as you play a little bit more, you'll find some golden nuggets that'll be really, really helpful for you. So I will, I just want to take a couple of these questions that were in the chat here. Is there a template plan so the AI reads more accurately? Short answer, I don't think the answer to that is yes. Generally speaking, you know, like AI is going to be better at reading or understanding things that it has seen a lot of times. And I think for more repetitive workflows, there's ways of tuning it to reach, like we've seen for permit intake and document completeness checks over hundreds or thousands of samples. Like we've seen it get as high as like a 99.9% accuracy measuring it quantitatively. But plan sets and designs, like they're just such high variability. And so while it can get better, I think it's less about a templatization and more about finding tools that are seamless or easy to use for people to work together with the AI. Mike, I saw you answered the question, does it have awareness or competence and accuracy? Yeah, and I think just something to add there. It can. This is where it gets to the tool set itself specifically. So sometimes tools are given additional context, like just practically for Ichi, we'll build into it to tell it like, hey, you're good at this or you're not good at that. And you know, don't fabricate certain things if you try to go down a particular path. But it's also changing really quickly, like Mike mentioned as well. Where practical example, like earlier this week, we released a bunch of tools that enable far greater quality for handwritten applications, like substantially better. And so once it now has that additional context and knowledge, it's going to change the way that it responds as it's given better skills and tools. So I wouldn't say that, I don't think any AI tool is actually self-aware of what its own confidence can be, but the designers of the tools may give it additional information or may instruct it to create information for itself of where its limitations could be. But that's going to be really hit or miss. Okay, cool. I think that catches it up on the chat.
I think we have a hand up too. Is it Josephine?
Oh, excellent.
Not sure, Josephine. I'm not sure if you're trying to speak. If you're still on mute.
Oh, yeah, maybe it was a relic from before.
Okay.
Cool. Are there any other questions folks have? I know we're almost at time, and I really appreciating you letting Mike and I bend your ear for the last hour and 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I have a question actually on the hallucination. I guess it's more Brandon. How do you check for hallucination into your program? Because in Claude, you can kind of counter that by saying it's okay to say no when you do the prompt. So how do you do that with Ichi?
Oh, there's a couple different ways. So it'd be the same as Claude. I think any like we are always adopting the newest and latest models behind the scenes for our agents, and you know Claude is I think best in class at the moment. And so you could do the same types of things like and that what you just described is actually like a really good practice is to be explicit with the AI to say, hey, be adversarial. I want you to know, like you can say no or what have you. And you can also add memories into the system so that it has broader awareness of how you like to work with it. The other thing is in this particular domain, there's so much variability of interpretation of the code, jurisdiction to jurisdiction or person to person. And so we leverage a lot of like human in the loop. So being able to easily provide feedback into the application. And then that allows us to give better instructions to the AI of how to navigate situations, particularly across code or construction documents where call it the AI's general semantic understanding may seem logically correct to the AI, but practically its use is incorrect. And so every piece of feedback is actually used to further instruct the system of how to do better the next time. So it's both active and passive feedback loops, both from the particular user's perspective as well as more broadly up into our company and other companies as well. And final thing, like even take Claude, we use Claude Code a lot. It asks me for feedback basically every day now as I use it.
Yeah, and
This
if I
is
could just,
Josephine.
oh,
Josephine, and I was able to unmute myself. I do have a question. Are you noticing design professionals providing plan submittals with the itchy code reviews as a path to expediting building department reviews?
I think short answer is yes, but it's not in a way where it's not mature enough in a way where it's like, wow, they're all using it and they're having, 50% less issues today or something yet. I think it's more of a like it's not just about the review process. I'll say like a lot of architects that I work with, they struggle to even get a base foundation of the codes during their schematic design process to go into the later phases of design development and construction document creation. And so a lot of it is also just even helping them just not even the review, just even knowing what is a better design to start from. And we see people using that in a lot of different ways today.
yeah, and if I could just add to that, I am seeing submittals come in with typically responses to comment letters that are utilizing AI to create those responses. So I'm not necessarily seeing it on the onset, but on second, third review. And then just quick to go back to the hallucination conversation. Within Ichi, there are tools that are actually built in to help with those checks. And so I showed you how it pulled in source information for where it came up with the response. And so clicking on it, being able to go quickly to the code itself to check it for accuracy, the plans to check it for accuracy. The way that I see when a hallucination appears in Ichi is maybe there'll be a code section that doesn't have a hyperlink to it, or it'll say on this sheet, but it doesn't actually give me that source information. I also typically use ChatGPT, and when I'm doing research online, it'll also provide me source information where it'll take me to that website, and I'll be able to check the accuracy of the information in the chat there as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm a licensed architect. I'm also a certified building official with 20 other credentials and codes. And I can only imagine that it would be really helpful to educate design professionals that this exists and that it might expedite their processes in submitting to building departments if they had this preliminary submittal done prior to submitting to a building department.
Yeah, I think like strong agreement with you on that. And to add to it, I do want to caution an over focus on the pre-review. I 100% think like the pre-reviews can be really helpful. I think like what Mike said of having AI help with generating comment letters or responses to them, like extremely helpful. But what I often find in this industry is there's still an immense amount of like human collaboration and conversation. And so where I think the pre-review can be really helpful and pre-review of document completeness, pre-review of code compliance, all of that in creating higher quality sets. It baffles me today that there's still a comment letter generation that goes to architects that turn into a whole project list that they do to work with a whole bunch of other folks to then remediate those situations, to roll it all the way back to a response letter that then goes back to a jurisdiction, and then that fans out to the 4 different reviewers on the project, and it goes back and forth. I believe there's a way of actually having AI be part of that human-to-human collaboration to get it done. And that's a whole body of work that, interestingly enough, I see people often spend more time on than just the review process itself. And I think we're really excited of what's going to come in the next 6 to 12 months to help facilitate that too. So yes, and to what you said, I just want to point that I think there's a lot of opportunities there.
That was great. Thank you very much, Brandon and Michael. Yeah, lots of good. It was a great presentation. I know I definitely had a lot of takeaways from that. So thanks again. And if we don't have anything else, we will go ahead and adjourn our meeting.
If I could just say, I'm happy to touch base with anybody if you guys have questions as well. I'll go ahead and drop my email into the chat.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Mike. I'm sure a lot of our membership will have questions, especially from a user that uses a lot of the technology now in our industry. So thank you. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. And again, you can expect to have your the CEUs emailed out, and feel free to reach out to any of us. If you didn't get the contact information for Brandon or Mike, we'll be happy to share that as well. All right, thank you, and have a great afternoon.
I'm happy to stay on if people have some more conversations or chat. I got some time here.
Hey, Michael, I have a question.
Sure.
I work for LA County, and so we do have a standard of what our correction list is. So because we have specific items that we do consider as a standard. So in that case, can you upload it in Ichi, that format, and then it'll like create an output with the markings of which ones are based on the plans that was uploaded? Is that something that
Yeah.
you can do?
Yeah. If you have any type of document that will guide it, there's a couple of different ways in Ichi. I'll go ahead and just share my screen again. So there's a couple of different ways in Ichi to do it where there's actually what's called memory. And so let me just see if I can. So like, for example, example of formatting for a new inspection checklist. And I went ahead, here's the formatting. I just went ahead and took a picture of it. And so then that way it knows the type of output that I wanted in. And then with Brandon's new tool that he's working on with workflow, he's actually even creating a way where it can take a template and be able to produce a work product based on that template.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So it's like it's kind of like can you do it like an agentic AI, or you create like a certain prompt and then just repeats itself, like it has that ability as well, right?
Oh yeah,
Like that's what
yeah. And so here,
agentic AI does now. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, here we have where we would be able to create and save prompts, and then
Yeah.
these workflows that are starting to roll out are like a series of prompts where a prompt will trigger multiple prompts to go.
Oh, okay. So it is like the agentic AI. Okay. All right. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I see a lot with Claude. That's why.
Oh, yeah. I do have a question for you. Could I get CEUs also?
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll have Perla, our secretary, send you out and include you into give you the number.
Yeah, great. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. Does anyone else have questions while I'm still here? Okay. Have a good one.